Hola, buenas tardes. Good afternoon. My name is Abelardo de la Peña Jr. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications with La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, welcoming you to today's En Casa con la Plaza Cocina. En Casa con la Plaza Cocina, we've been doing it on Mondays for the last 2 years plus. These are demonstrations from some of our finest chefs, restaurateurs, food historians, and more, not just locally, from throughout the United States and Mexico. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Union Pacific Foundation and the Institute for Museum and Library Services. La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, La Plaza Cocina, and our gift stars are open Wednesday through Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. at the museum here on 501 North Main Street. These are the last 2 weeks of patriotism and conflict, fighting for country and comunidad. A very insightful, emotional, historic exhibition. I hope you could come and join us to learn more about the Chicano Moratorium and the event surrounding that momentous event 51 plus years ago. At La Plaza Cocina, our brand new museum and teaching kitchen at 555 North Spring Street, right behind La Plaza's outdoor stage on Spring Street. Our newest exhibition, Abuelita's Kitchen, Mexican Food Stories, a multimedia exhibition sharing food stories of 10 indigenous, mestiza, Mexican-American, and Afro-Mexican abuelas. Photography, text, a documentary film, kitchen artifacts, family recipes, and audio stories. Better yet, this past week, the first 2 in-person La Plaza Cocina culinary programs took place last Thursday and last Saturdays. To tell us a little bit about them, let's bring on Jimena Martin, our Director of Programming and Culinary Arts. Please join us, Jimena.
Buenas tardes. Yes, thank you. Again, if you haven't had a chance to come visit us, come see this beautiful exhibition, Abuelita's Kitchen. In fact, you can actually take some of the recipes home with you. And as Abelardo was saying, Thursday we had our first class with Jocelyn Ramirez of Todo Verde. She does beautiful vegan cheese, sold out class. And then on Saturday, we had our first installation of the grandmother speaking, Sabor Puebla. And so she brought beautiful mole, esquites, and we had the opportunity to hear her story as a food activist, as a mother, and as a woman in working the streets, try to provide for her family, and of course, as an abuela. We had a full house. It was amazing. I hope you guys can join us again for the cooking session with Wendy Centeno from Guayaba Kitchen. She'll be teaching on Saturday morning from 10 to 12. She'll be doing how to create your own spices, and then plant-based vegan calabacita soup, just in time for the summer. As you know, we all like our hot soups during the summer. Today, we're going all the way to Texas. We have a special guest, Dora Stone. She's going to be making vegan Baja Ceviche Tostadas. And Dora, she is a chef, recipe developer, photographer at dorastables.com, and Mi Mero Mole at MMM She was born and raised in Mexico. She's a graduate of the CIA in New York, and she adopted a vegan diet to take control of her health. So we're so fortunate to have her here all the way from Texas and the time zone differences, and she's going to share 2 recipes for us. Buenas tardes, bienvenida, Dora. ¿Cómo estás? How are you?
Hi, so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So please tell us a little bit more about your culinary journey.
Well, I was born and raised in Mexico, and my family has had a restaurant for the past 32 years. And I kind of grew up in the industry, like that was our family life. That's what we did. And when time came to go to college, I decided to go to college in New York at the Culinary Institute of America. And then after that, several years later, I became vegan. And it was a huge shock for me because I did not want to be vegan. I was probably one of those people that made fun of vegans. But I had a health issue come up, and a vegan diet, a plant-based diet, really, really helped improve my health. So then after that, I was kind of hooked. And I've had a blog for a while. And once I became vegan, I changed my whole blog to be vegan as well. And around that same time, my mother was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I was trying to get her to go vegan as well, because there's research that shows that a plant-based diet could help reverse type 2 diabetes. And I just couldn't get her to do it, because I kept trying to feed her weird things, I guess, like tofu and like Asian, like I think I fed her like a Vietnamese spring roll, which are delicious. I love them so much. She did not like them. And then she finally tells me one day, she's like, why can't you just make it Mexican? And I'm like, oh, yes, I can. And I've been doing that ever since. So I've been creating food online for the past 7 years. And, you know, along the way, you learn a lot of things about veganism. It's not just a diet. There's so much more involved with it, the planet, the animals. So I'm really happy to be here and to share some of my recipes, and to get other, you know, Latinos like me or Latinas to you know, maybe take a little bit of a risk and try something different, and it'll still have our traditional flavors. It'll still have, you know, the history behind the dish. So I'm excited to be here.
So happy you are here too. I know you're going to start with some aguas. It's pretty hot here in Los Angeles, so aguas sounds perfect. Can you please share, please?
I'm going to make a cucumber pineapple basil agua fresca. And right now, I think it's 110 degrees here. So it is perfect for right now. And then after our agua fresca, I'm going to make a Baja style ceviche, but I'm going to be using something called hearts of palm, which is like the name says, it's the heart of the palm, like the core of the palm. And you can usually find it in little jars or cans like this one. And the reason why we use it to make ceviche is because it has a bit of a flaky texture, and that kind of helps us mimic like the fish texture.
Great. So please show us what your steps are to make the aguas, please. And what do you use? Do you use real sugar, or do you have alternatives?
Right now, today I'm using real sugar, but it is super easy to use an alternative, especially for those of you that might be diabetic. You could use any alternative sugar. So we're going to start right away. So I have already my pineapple chopped, and this is about 1 medium pineapple without work. So I'm going to put that in our blender. We're also going to add, this is about 1 cucumber, and I peeled it, but I left the seeds. So there's no need to take out the seeds. I have about 1/3 of a cup of packed basil leaves. And you could also use mint or yerba buena. And it's also super, super refreshing. Today I'm going to use basil because it really does make a very good combination between, you know, the cucumber and the pineapple. I'm going to add 1/3 of a cup of sugar, and it could be 1/3 of a cup to 1/2 a cup of sugar. And that's just regular sugar. And then you need 7 cups of water. So not all of it is going to fit in my blender. So I'm going to fill the blender like 3/4 of the way. And now we're going to blend it. So how much you blend it is going to depend on how big you want those pieces of basil to be. So I'm going to blend it just a little bit more because I'm going to feed this to my kids. And if they see tiny specks of basil, they're going to be like, no. All right. The best thing about agua frescas is that they're so easy to make, and you can use anything, any fruit that's in season. You could combine them, like strawberry and beet is so good together, or cantaloupe and mint is also really good together. There's so many different combinations that you can make. So now I have about, I want to say it's maybe like 2 cups of water still in here. Now, if I was going to serve this like at a gathering, at a party, I would fill this with ice and pour this in there and then just serve it. But because my kids aren't here yet, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour it into my jarra right here. And then I have the ice in my glass, because this way it's not going to get diluted when while we're waiting for, you know, the guests at the party. Or you could just put this in the fridge, and then once your guests get there, add ice to it and then put the pitcher out. So let's pour it. And you see how super easy it was to make, and it is super adaptable to whatever your dietary needs are. So I have to try this because it's so hot here.
Well, you're drinking away with that deliciousness there. I have Rosibel Guzman asking. She thinks strawberries and beets sounds very interesting. She was admiring your jarra. What size of jarra did you just use?
I don't even know what how much it fits.
That's a big jarra.
It's really big. I'm probably thinking it fits almost 2 liters of water. Yeah. So which would be maybe like 8 cups. About 8 cups of water.
And I know it's when the kids come, it's going to be all on, but let's say if there's some left in the fridge, how long will it stay in the fridge?
I wouldn't probably like just until the next day. So I would only make really what you want that day, just because sugars, you know, once they sit in the fridge, and then you can get, if it's very like if it was outside, if you're in a gathering outside and it sat in the sun, then you could get into very quickly into like fermentation. So you just really want, I recommend that you make it fresh that day that you're going to have it. If you do have some left over, it'll be fine overnight in the fridge. And then after that, it kind of starts to get like a really weird, like slimy texture if you leave it too long in the fridge. So I would eat it, just drink it fresh.
Great. And tell us, how did you discover palmitos as a alternative to fish?
You know, in the like 90s, palmito was very popular in salads. So like everybody was having it on salads. And then after I went to culinary school, I used fresh hearts of palm at the hotel that I was working at, and I fell in love with them. Fresh hearts of palm have a really nice texture. It's like kind of crunchy. It's got like a toothiness to it that the like canned variety doesn't have. But I'm going to show you right now. So I got this at HEB. I'm in Texas, but usually they come in the jars or they come in cans. And this is what it looks like. And it has a very mild flavor. And I'm going to cut it and talking about with the texture. You can actually kind of just like almost pull it.
Almost like mozzarella cheese, kind of, no?
Yeah, well, it does. If you were looking at it like this, it could. So it has almost like a very flaky texture. Let's see if I can get close to the camera. So you could just take it apart with your hands. So that's why when you chop it up, or you could even, I know some people make like fish tacos out of it. You can bread it and fry it. It mimics that fish texture. So to use it for the ceviche, I already have what we're going to use today all cut up, but I wanted to show you how to cut it anyway. So I've cut it in half, and then I'm just kind of cut it into slices. I lay out my slices, one right next to the other, and then I cut it into smaller slices. This ceviche is very unique, and that's what's called Baja style ceviche, because they usually serve it very chopped up. Ceviche in other places, there you get more cubes, or the fish will be kind of in the shape of cubes, and everything else will also be kind of like in that same size. But this ceviche in Baja, they really, really chop it up. So everything that I did today is very small, chopped very small. So here what I'm doing, my little strips that were vertical, I've turned them horizontal, and then I'm just chopping them as small as I possibly can. And that's it. I do recommend that when you buy the cans, you want to take it out of the can and you want to rinse it because it's in a sort of brine. So you don't want your ceviche to be full of that briny flavor because we're going to add so much other flavors to it. So we don't want that there. So you want to take it out of the can, rinse it, and then we move to this step. Right, so here we go. So now we're going to move on making our ceviche, and you're going to see how easy, super easy it is. So all you're going to need is a huge bowl. And the first thing that we're going to add is our chopped up hearts of palm or palmito. And this is 2 cans of hearts of palm. And then I have tomato, and this is about 3 medium tomatoes. And I did remove the pulp of the tomato so that if you leave the pulp in there, it's not a big deal, but it'll make the ceviche very soupy, and we don't want that either. So we have our tomato, and then I have.
I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but with Holly Lynn Purser, she says she's popping her hearts of palms right now, and she's going to be chefing along with you.
Oh,
so she'll be cooking with you.
And then I have cucumbers, about 3/4 of a cup of cucumber, and it's also diced very, very fine. And then this is an ingredient that maybe you don't usually see in ceviche, but it's carrots. And it's also very finely chopped. And I really like this. And this is how they do it in Baja, because it adds a crunch to it. Because even when you make this with fish, you know, the fish it's not crunchy, you know, it's got a very soft, chewy texture. And this gives it a little bit of a crunch. So we have about 1/2 cup of finely diced carrots. And then I'm using today 1/2 of a jalapeno, and I decided to take out the seeds just because I want my kids to eat this, and they eat a little bit of chile. So we don't want too spicy. So this is 1/2 a jalapeno, but if you really like spicy food, you can do 1, you can do 2, you can do as many as you want. I have here about 1/2 a cup of onion. And if you notice, I don't know if you can see, I have it in water. So my kids really don't like raw onion in their like guacamole. They don't like it in the dishes. So what I do is I let it soak in water for like 20 minutes, and that helps take away some of that really strong flavor of the raw onion. So I'm gonna take it out. And it's just white onion. And then I have 2 tablespoons of lime juice, and it doesn't have a lot of lime juice precisely because the palmito comes in a brine. So it's already a little bit acidic. If we were making a traditional ceviche, it would have a ton of lime juice. So for us, we don't have that much lime juice, but it's going to be perfect because we're also adding 1/4 of a cup of the liquid in the can of the jalapenos and escabeche, which I love to add to everything. I put it when I make it's like a fake tuna salad. You mash chickpeas, almost you make like an ensalada de tuna a la mexicana, and I like to add, you know, the mayo, and I add some of the jalapeno juice. Now, because our palmito has hardly any fat, we're gonna need a little bit of fat to kind of coat our palates, to like bring it all together. And I have 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And it's not ceviche if it doesn't have cilantro. So I have 1/3 of a cup of chopped cilantro. Okay. So now we're going to mix it all up. Now, ideally, you need to let this marinate for 20 to 30 minutes in the fridge, but we're not going to do that today because I'm going to eat it right now. But it's delicious now, and it'll even be more delicious in 20 minutes when the flavors have time to kind of melt all together. Now I forgot my salt. So I always kind of wait till the end to add the salt, especially if you're working with people with dietary needs and need like a lower salt content. So I'm gonna go get my salt real quick and my pepper. Okay. So also the palmito, like I said, because it comes in a brine. Let's see how much sodium it has. It already has salt because a brine is a mixture of like acid and water and salt. So it already has salt. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Mix it again. Now let's taste it to see if we need to adjust the seasoning. It needs a little bit more salt. And then if you try it and you're like, it needs more lime, add more lime. It's all to taste. Recipes are really just a guide to how, you can do things. And, every family, every person has, different taste buds. They like different things. So if you feel you taste this and you're like, this needs more salt or this needs more lime juice, add more lime juice to it. So the really cool part about this and why it's a Baja style ceviche is because it's usually served on tostadas. And I think this is maybe the only part of the country that does this. They put mayo on the tostada. So it says vegan mayo. So we're gonna put vegan mayo. That's a lot of mayo. We're gonna put vegan mayo on the bottom of my tostada. And then we put the ceviche on top. I'm going to put a little slice of avocado. So let's put it up.
That's another really big bowl. How many servings with the recipe that you sent us? Like how many people would that serve?
I think they probably serve 6 people. So if you want, if you have like 2 to 3 people, I would say do half of the recipe. But it goes quick, especially right now if it's so hot.
I know. So as a recipe developer, how long does it take you to find that perfect combination to make the great recipe?
Usually I test my recipes 2 to 3 times, depending on the complexity of the recipe. I do a lot of research beforehand. Like I have a ton of, Mexican cookbooks. I look online. I have a bunch of different resources, and I'll try to stick to the original recipe as much as possible, just because I want to continue to honor, the beauty of the cuisine, and that not just because, I'm not eating any meat or I'm not eating any cheese, that it can't be delicious or it can't honor the cuisine or the roots of the cuisine. So I do quite a bit of research beforehand, and then I'll test a recipe 2 to 3 times. So a recipe like this, it's so easy. Maybe I did it twice just to make sure, to try a different protein or protein substitute. Like I might have made it, like you could also make this with cauliflower. You chop up the cauliflower, you kind of par cook the cauliflower a little bit, put it in ice, and then chop it up and do the same thing. Like if you can't find palmito, or if you realize that you don't like palmito, you could also use cauliflower. So it's a whole process. And then over time, because my website has been up for like 6 years, so over time people leave comments like, oh, this just didn't work for me, or oh, sometimes people leave tips like, hey, I made it with this and it was great, and then I'll try it and I decide that it's even better with that, and I'll go in and put a note, or I'll change the recipe. So it's a community effort, I
No, I
think.
appreciate that tip about putting the jalapeno juice into the faux tuna salad because I know it's a nice alternative because I'm plant-based now, and that's a really nice trick to kind of brighten it up because of the mayonnaise. So speaking of
Mhm.
mayonnaise, I have Holly Lynn is asking what brand of vegan mayo do you prefer? And then I have Irma Gabriela Nadir asking, did you use fresh serranos or jalapenos for this recipe?
I used fresh jalapenos, just because they're a little bit less spicy than serranos. But if you're really like chile, I would use serranos because they're spicier. And what was the other question?
The other question was, what brand of vegan mayo do you prefer?
Oh, it's funny because before it was really hard to find vegan mayo, and now everybody has vegan mayo. And the one that I like the best is Hellman's. Hellman's, is that how you say it? Just
Mhm.
they came out with a vegan mayo, I think, last year, and it tastes just like the regular one. So that's the one I'm using to date. Some of the other ones I know, Follow Your Heart has, I also like that one, but it's a little runnier than other mayo.
Okay, then I think we need to have the Taster's Choice Bite that we usually do for our for our website. Let me get Averardo, mi compañero. Oh, of course, the hot sauce.
Yes. So now I put my 2 slices of avocado on there. You can put as much as you want, and then you add some hot sauce to it.
Great.
And that's it. So easy.
What a perfect lunch. That looks so cool and refreshing. It's not 110 here in Los Angeles, but we're warming up.
Yeah.
But that's definitely going to be something to do during the summers. Pero con eso, Abelardo, he's our professional photographer, so we can catch the moment for our website.
Yes, please,
Sure.
Dora. If you could hold up the tostada and just showcase it, just tilt it a little bit so we could see it. There you go. Okay, uno, dos. Y big sonrisa, fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Please let our folks watching us. Where can we find your recipes? Where can we find you out there in social media?
You can find all of my recipes on dorstable.com. And if you're looking for my recipes in Espanol, you can find it at mmmole.com. That's like mole.com. And all my recipes are in Spanish there. On social media, at Dora's Table, on Instagram at Dora's Table, on TikTok at Dora's Table, and Facebook as well.
En todo caso, muchísimas gracias. Éxitos. Adelante. Keep those recipes. I'm going to dive in and check out those recipes as well for the summer. Again, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Texas. Y con eso le paso a mi compañero Alvarado. Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dora. The mayonnaise on the tostada. Now, where did that come from?
From Baja California.
Oh wow, okay. I'd never had it like that, but it does. I do like mayo, so yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. All right. Well, Rosibel Guzman here on Zoom. She gives the aplausos, and of course we had Holly Lynn joining us. And on Facebook, Irma Gabriela Nadir says, Dora, you are wonderful with little besitos. So thank you so much. This is really interesting. I'm not vegan myself, but I do like eating vegetarian every now and then, and I think I'm going to have to give this one a try. So thank you so much, Dora. Thank you, Jimena. Thank you out there who joined us on En Casa con la Plaza Cocina today. We're going to be off next week with with the Cocina. But again, as Jimena mentioned, we are hosting our classes, our cooking demonstrations, Hecho con Amor, Sabor a Mexico, and Pláticas y Pruebas there at La Plaza Cocina. And you can check them all out at laplazacocina.org and also on our Facebook page. If you didn't know, on our Facebook page, we do have a special group, La Plaza Cocina. So you could just go to our at La Plaza LA Facebook page, click on groups, click on La Plaza Cocina, become a member, and you get the latest posts. Jimena's really excellent at putting posts about all kinds of Mexican cooking, about restaurants. You'll really enjoy it. But best of all, we now have La Plaza Cocina open Wednesdays through Sundays from 12 to 5 p.m. at 555 North Spring Street. Y con eso, muy buenas tardes a todos. Thanks to our sponsors, Institute for Museum and Library Services, and Union Pacific Foundation. And mostly, thank you very much, Dora, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and thank you, Jimena. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ustedes. Bye.
Bye.